My name is Lila, and I'm 32 years old. That night, December 25th, I lay crumpled at the bottom of my own porch stairs in the picture-perfect Pinecrest Estates, HOA my left wrist bent at an impossible angle, pain shooting through me like fireworks gone wrong. The freshly shoveled walkway felt icy against my cheek, and I could taste blood where I'd bitten my tongue on the way down. Oh my goodness, did you see her face? Karen Whitaker's laughter rang out from the top step, all syrupy sweet on the surface, but dripping with delight underneath. The HOA president stood there in her festive red blazer, her perfectly manicured hand still extended from where she'd helped me tumble. She went down like a sack of holiday decorations. Her voice carried across the snow-dusted lawns where the rest of the board had gathered for the annual compliance carol sing inspection. My mother's chuckle, wait, no, it was Vice President Elaine Hargrove's chuckle, joined in from the sidewalk. Lila, stop being so dramatic. Get up, dear. She's always been so clumsy with the covenants. Her husband, board treasurer Frank, didn't even look away from his clipboard of violation notes. Remember when she had that flag up 2 inches too high last 4th of July? Same theatrical performance. I tried to push myself up with my good hand, but the pain exploded like a firecracker in my wrist. A sob escaped anyway, not just from the break, but from the familiar burn of being the neighborhood punchline, the scapegoat for every property value threat in Pinecrest. I think it's broken, I whispered, cradling my arm against my chest like it was made of glass. Sure it is. Karen descended the steps, stepping over me like I was a stray pine needle on her pristine walkway. Just like how you claimed food poisoning at the Thanksgiving potluck and couldn't help with the community decorations. Always something with you, Lila. The HOA holiday feast, I'd spent 6 hours prepping. Turkey for the potluck table, green bean casserole from scratch because Karen insisted canned was lazy and lower standards, sat cooling under the twinkling lights I'd strung exactly to code after 3 warning letters. All of it waiting while they laughed at my pain. I'd done everything right, as always. Arrived early to set up the approved, white-only lights, wrapped the community gifts they'd exchange, even mowed my lawn to the exact 2.5-inch height they measured with their little rulers. And what did I get? The same treatment I'd endured for 3 years since moving into Grandma Evelyn's old Victorian here in the HOA trap. The citations, the public shaming at meetings, the gaslighting that made me question if I was the crazy one destroying community harmony. I'm going to the hospital, I said, struggling to my feet. My wrist had already swollen into an angry purple balloon. On Christmas, Elaine finally appeared in her pearl necklace and HOA vest. Don't be ridiculous. Put some ice on it and file a proper appeal like everyone else. I looked at them, really looked. Karen, elegant in her cruelty, clipboard in hand like a weapon. Elaine and Frank, indifferent as always. The board framed by the twinkling lights, I'd hung under duress. The home Grandma Evelyn had left me, the only place I'd ever felt safe until the covenants turned it into a prison. I'm done, I heard myself say. They laughed again, of course. How many times had I muttered those words after another $500 fine for my mailbox being the wrong shade of beige? How many times had I come crawling back with compliance photos, desperate for the peaceful life I'd never truly had here? But this time was different. This time I had proof. I climbed the porch steps slowly, each one sending lightning through my wrist. In the unchanged bedroom from Grandma's era, I packed with one hand a few clothes, my laptop, and the folder I'd hidden under the mattress months ago, documents they didn't know existed. When I came back down, they were already serving themselves from my potluck spread at the community table. They didn't look up as I passed with my backpack and makeshift sling from an old scarf. Drama queen's making her exit, Karen announced, raising her eggnog in mock toast. See you at the next meeting when you need another extension. I stopped at the walkway. Snow beginning to fall softly. No, I said quietly. You won't. The cold Missouri night bit at my face as I walked to my car. Their laughter followed, muffled by the HOA rules that had never been a home. They thought this was just another citation in the long performance of me as the problem resident. They had no idea what was coming. The emergency room doctor confirmed it. Fractured radius, displaced. As he wrapped my wrist in a cast, I thought about all the other accidents the board had dismissed over the years. The clumsy trips during inspections that left bruises, the stress that kept me up nights. Except this time, someone was looking. A silent digital witness I'd installed months ago. The board's favorite hobby wasn't block parties or potlucks. It was rewriting history, making me question what I knew to be true. You're too sensitive, Lila. That never happened. Why do you always make things up about the rules? They were masters at it, perfected over 3 years of power trips. It started when I first moved in after Grandma Evelyn passed. Karen, for years my senior in neighborhood status and already a pro at cruelty, would accidentally cite me for grass 1 millimeter too long while pinching my compliance timeline until I cried. Then she'd run to the board claiming I was hostile, and they always believed her. Always. Frank would come to meetings to find me in the hot seat, confused and tearful, while Karen played the perfect president in the front row. She's just jealous of our standards, Elaine would explain to other residents when they noticed the targeting. Lila's always been difficult. Thank goodness we have Karen. By my second year, the harassment escalated. Karen would accidentally elbow me during yard measurements, step on my garden tools until they broke, cut my approved rose bushes while I slept because they weren't uniform. When I showed the board photos, they'd exchange those looks. Why would Karen do that? They'd ask, voices dripping skepticism. She loves this community. The gaslighting was worse than the fines. At least citations prove something happened. But when the whole board tells you you're crazy for questioning the rules, you start to believe it. I spent months in quiet therapy, convinced I was the problem resident, too dramatic to everything they said. Until Grandma Evelyn, during her last visits, saw through it all. She'd pull me aside, press peppermint into my palm, and whisper, "I see you, sweet girl. I see everything they do." Grandma Evelyn wasn't wealthy by HOA standards, but she owned her house outright, a stunning Victorian worth more than any of their cookie-cutter McMansions. She'd lived there 60 years, fought the HOA tooth and nail, and filled every room with love instead of rules. It was the only sanctuary I'd known. When she died 2 years ago, the board gathered for the will reading like vultures circling a citation. Karen had already planned renovations for the property values, talked about using it as precedent for stricter enforcement. Elaine calculated new fines. Frank eyed the taxes. I sat in the back, grieving the only person who'd ever truly loved me here. The lawyer cleared his throat. To my son Michael and his wife Patricia, I leave my collection of first edition books and $20,000. Elaine shifted impatiently. To my granddaughter Karen, no, wait, the board president gets nothing special. To my granddaughter Lila, I leave my jewelry and $20,000. Karen smirked, probably calculating how to seize the house anyway. The house and all remaining assets shall pass to my granddaughter Lila on one condition. If within 3 years of my passing, Lila can provide documented evidence of physical abuse or neglect by HOA members, the house becomes hers entirely, free of all covenants, liens, and fines. Without such evidence, the property shall be sold and proceeds divided equally among the HOA board as community improvement. The room went silent. That's insane, Karen shrieked. She's poisoned Grandma against us. Typical Lila, playing the victim even from beyond the grave. Frank just shook his head. Elaine always was too soft. The lawyer continued, unmoved. I have included this provision because every person deserves a safe haven. Lila, my dear, you know what I know. The truth needs only light to be seen. They laughed about it for months afterward. The crazy clause, they called it at every meeting. Good luck proving your delusions, Karen would taunt in the hallway. Hope you enjoyed your little fantasy about escaping the rules. They were so confident in their decades, no years of psychological manipulation. So certain I'd never prove what they'd done. After all, they trained me well to doubt my own eyes, to question my own experiences, to believe I was always the rule breaker. But Grandma Evelyn had given me more than a potential inheritance. She'd given me permission to trust myself again. The cast on my wrist felt heavy as I lay in the motel bed that Christmas night. 1 year left on the deadline. They thought they'd won. Thought that shove was just another moment I'd swallow. They didn't know about the cameras. They didn't know that for the first time, I had proof I wasn't crazy. And in 3 days, they'd all know it. I bought the cameras because I knew I wasn't crazy. 6 months before that Christmas nightmare, I'd stood in the electronics store, heart pounding as I handed over my credit card. The clerk enthusiastically explained the features. Motion activation, night vision, cloud storage, tiny enough to hide anywhere. Perfect for home security, he said. He had no idea it was for HOA security from them. Installing them took patience and planning worthy of a spy novel. I chose my compliance visits carefully, volunteering to host the board when Karen's crew inspected for holiday prep, offering to deep clean common areas before the big meetings. They saw it as typical desperate Lila, so eager to please, so terrified of fines. They never suspected I was mapping their blind spots, finding perfect angles for the truth. I hid 3 cameras total. One in the living room, tucked behind Grandma's old picture frame on the bookshelf. One in the kitchen nestled between cookbooks they never read, and one at the bottom of the porch steps disguised as part of the approved security system they never bothered to activate properly. For months, I collected evidence, not dramatic explosions that could be dismissed as staged, but the 1,000 tiny cruelties that made up life in Pinecrest. Karen telling her book club how I'd always been a problem resident, even from move-in day. Cried constantly over citations, not like the easy homeowners. Frank explaining to his golf buddies why I wasn't invited to the board holiday party. You know how Lila gets. She makes everything about her rules violations. Better to keep it simple. Elaine on the phone with her friends, laughing about the time she'd submitted my appeal late on purpose. She actually thought the system glitched. God, she's so gullible. Each clip automatically uploaded to my laptop, backed up to multiple clouds, date-stamped, verified, undeniable. But I needed more than casual cruelty for Grandma's clause. It will specify physical abuse or neglect. The lawyers would want something concrete, something that couldn't be explained away as tough love for property values or community banter. I almost gave up in November, sitting in my apartment scrolling through hours of footage. I wondered if I was exactly what they said, paranoid, dramatic, desperate to paint myself as the victim resident. Maybe Grandma had been wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Then came the Thanksgiving potluck. I'd arrived early to cook as volunteer. The camera caught Karen cornering me in the kitchen while I was elbow deep in turkey prep. You know, nobody actually wants you hosting, right? She hissed, leaning close. The board only invites you because we'd look bad otherwise. Please, Karen, not today. She grabbed my wrist, the same one she'd later break, and twisted. Don't please me. You're pathetic and a threat to values. The camera captured my gasp of pain, the way she smiled when I pulled away. It recorded Elaine walking in, seeing my tears and saying, Lila, stop trying to ruin another community event. I knew then it was only a matter of time. Karen was escalating, getting bolder with every inspection. The cameras would catch something eventually. I just had to endure a little longer under the ridiculous rules, like the one banning colored Christmas lights, because only white maintains aesthetic harmony. December 25th, 11:47 p.m. The timestamp burned into my memory. I'd reviewed the footage in my motel room, watching myself fall in slow motion. The push was clear, deliberate. Karen's hands on my back, the force of it, the way she laughed before I even hit the ground. The porch camera caught my landing, the sickening angle of my wrist. But the audio was the real smoking gun. Every word crystal clear. Did you see her face? She went down like a sack of potatoes. Lila, stop being so dramatic. Get up. She's always been clumsy with the covenants. My laptop screen glowed in the dark room as I edited the clips together. 6 months of psychological torture, the Thanksgiving wrist twist, the Christmas shove, a pattern of abuse so clear no lawyer could argue against it. I thought about Grandma Evelyn, how she'd pressed that peppermint into my palm the last time. Document everything, sweet girl. The truth needs only light to be seen. She'd known. Somehow she'd known I'd find a way. I saved the video under multiple names, uploaded to every cloud. Then I opened a new document and began typing. Summary of evidence for legal proceedings re-last will and testament of Evelyn Marie Patterson. Provisions regarding property transfer to Lila Marie Patterson. My phone buzzed with text from the board. Where are you? Stop being childish. You ruined the carols sing. I turned it off and kept typing. They could wait. For once, they could wait. The motel room was silent except for the click of keys and snow against the window. Outside, family celebrated Christmas night warm and together. But I sat alone with my broken wrist and my laptop, finally holding the proof that I wasn't the problem resident. I'd never felt less alone. The morning after Christmas, I drove to the hospital with fresh snow crunching under my tires. The ER doctor had told me to return for proper documentation. You'll need these records, he'd said quietly, eyes understanding. All of them. Radiology took new x-rays. The nurse photographed the bruising that ballooned overnight, purple and green fingerprints where Karen had grabbed me at Thanksgiving, the swelling around my wrist, the older marks I'd hidden. Each image tagged, dated, entered into my record. How did this happen? The nurse asked gently. The HOA president pushed me down my porch stairs. The board was there. They saw it. She nodded, making notes. Would you like to speak with our social worker? We have resources for harassment victims. I have a lawyer, I said. The word surprised us both. From the hospital, I drove to the police station. The lobby smelled like burnt coffee. I clutched my folder of screenshots, laptop bag heavy. The officer looked tired. I need to file a report for assault. They took me to a small room. Detective Morrison, kind-eyed, took my statement. I showed her the video. She watched Karen shove, watched me fall, watched the board laugh, her jaw tightening. Do you have somewhere safe? Yes. Good. We'll need copies. Is this the first? I slid the folder. No, this goes back years. She reviewed the timestamps, the pattern. You did good documenting. Real good. By 10:30 a.m., I was in the law offices of Elkins and Associates. Mark Elkins had handled Grandma's estate. He'd weathered the board's fury about the crazy clause. His secretary squeezed me in. Lila, he said, eyes on my cast. What happened? I set my laptop down. I have the evidence Grandma wanted. For the next hour, I laid out everything. The videos, medical records, police report. Mark's expression grew serious. This is substantial. The provision is unusual, but your grandmother was specific. She even had a psychiatrist evaluate her capacity, anticipating challenges. It'll hold. The video alone, plus medical and police, is enough. He leaned back. This isn't just about the house, is it? I thought about Grandma's garden, the only safe place. No. It's about proving I'm not crazy. Mark nodded. We'll send a formal letter today notifying the board of your intent to claim under the will. They'll have 30 days. Given the evidence, they'll want to negotiate. What if they don't? Then we go to court. We'll win. I left feeling weightless. For 32 years, no, 3 intense years here, I'd carried being the problem. Now I turned their gaslighting into legal weapons. My phone had 43 missed calls. I didn't listen. Instead, I drove to my friend Jasmine's. You did it, she asked. I did it. She hugged me carefully. I'm proud. That night at Jasmine's, I sat compiling files. Christmas 2024 assault, Thanksgiving intimidation, pattern of HOA abuse. Each clip labeled. They call it betrayal when they found out, but I called it documentation. The certified letter arrived at Karen's office on December 28th. Mark called at 2:15 p.m. They signed for it. Now we wait. I didn't wait long. My phone exploded. Elaine called 17 times. Frank texted frantically. Karen left a voicemail so vicious Jasmine deleted it. You don't need that poison. But they weren't content with calls. By evening, they'd found Jasmine's apartment. I saw Frank's Lexus pull up, then Elaine's Mercedes. Karen emerged from the passenger seat, face twisted. They couldn't get in, security door. But the buzzer rang nonstop. Lila, get down here. Elaine's voice, the one that used to make me flinch at meetings. We're bored. You owe us a conversation. Frank playing reasonable. This has gone too far. Karen honest as always. You lying little rule breaker. You won't get away with this. After 20 minutes, they started shouting. Voices carried up. Lila, stop this nonsense. The neighbor yelled he'd call cops. That quieted them. They retreated to the entrance, taking turns buzzing, cycling through tactics. Elaine's tears, Frank's disappointment, Karen's fury. Jasmine recorded on her phone. Just in case. Finally, she went to the intercom. She doesn't want to speak. Leave or we call police. Who the hell are you? Karen crackled. Someone who cares about Lila. Now leave. They didn't until a patrol car cruised by. Then they scattered like cited violators. The text continued all night. How could you do this after everything we've done for property values? Frank, your grandmother would be ashamed. Karen, you're jealous of my position. My brother Dylan, wait, my distant cousin on the board, chimed in from out of town. What the hell did you do? They're losing it. I didn't respond. Mark had been clear, no contact outside legal. But I saved every message. More evidence. The next morning, Jasmine drove me to Mark's. He'd heard from their lawyer, Richard Stanford, who golfed with Frank. They're claiming the video was illegal. No right to record without consent. Mark smiled. Missouri is one-party consent. You were present. Cameras in common areas. You're on solid ground. What now? They're scared. This harassment proves it. They'll want to meet. As if on cue, his phone rang. Stanford wants tomorrow, 10 a.m. All parties. You ready? I thought of 3 years doubting myself. My wrist ached in a cast, a reminder. I've been ready my whole time here. That night, I looked at old photos of Grandma Evelyn and me in her garden. She taught me to plant roses. Sometimes you cut away the dead parts so the healthy ones grow. Tomorrow I'd sit across from the board with lawyers and truth. The house of rules wasn't trembling. It was collapsing. The conference room smelled like leather and coffee. I arrived at 9:45 in my best blazer, cast hidden under sleeve. Mark had documents spread like weapons. They're here. The board filed in like a funeral. Karen wore her pearls, Elaine her HOA vest. Frank's jaw set. Their lawyer Stanford, silver-haired suit, shook Mark's hand but ignored me. Let's dispense with pleasantries. This video was clearly, Mark interrupted smoothly. We'll be filing criminal charges. Assault causing bodily harm. Police report filed. Medical extensive. Your client, nodding at Karen, is looking at jail time. Silence. Karen drained of color. That's ridiculous. It was an accident. Mark turned his laptop. Shall we watch? Pay attention to both hands on Lila's back. We don't need to see it, Frank said quickly. Additionally, we have years of pattern. The Thanksgiving incident alone is assault. I watched their faces as Stanford whispered. First taste of consequences. No gaslighting erased video. What do you want? Stanford asked. Mark looked at me. My moment. The house free and clear per the will. Written admission of assault. Restraining order against the board. Absolutely not, Frank said. Then we go to trial. Video public. Your country club will love it. Elaine's hand to pearls. You wouldn't. I have nothing to lose. You made sure of that. You spent years telling everyone I'm the crazy resident. What's one more story? Except this time, I have proof. Negotiation lasted 3 hours. They tried guilt, anger, fake reconciliation. We're the board. We work things out. You're right. Boards don't shove residents and laugh. My cousin Dylan, silent till now, spoke. Just give her the damn house. Everyone stared. What? We all know what happened. I've watched it for years. Give her the house and be done. Dylan, Elaine gasped. He shrugged. I'm tired of pretending. That cracked the room. Stanford recessed. I heard raised voices, bored turning on each other. When they returned, Stanford defeated. My clients transfer the house per will. In exchange, drop criminal, sign NDA. No, NDA. I won't be silenced. More whispers. Finally, Karen pleads to simple assault, 100 hours community service, anger management, forfeits any claim. House transfers immediately. No further charges. This is extortion, Karen hissed, signing. No, I said. It's justice, small but justice. One by one they signed. Elaine's hand shook. Frank tore the copy. Karen barely held the pen. At the door, Elaine turned. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed the community. No, you did that. I just stopped pretending it wasn't broken. After they left, Mark poured water. You did well. Your grandmother would be proud. I thought of her roses blooming stronger after pruning. The house soon mine, not just building, but sanctuary where no one shoves you for rule violations. Thank you for believing me. The evidence believed you. I presented it. That night, Jasmine opened champagne. To freedom, to proof. Tomorrow, paperwork, keys, new life. But tonight, I sat with my friend, cast reminding where I'd been, documents promising where I was going. The house of rules hadn't just fallen. I knocked it down, piece by documented piece. The call started the day after papers signed. Not from the board. They were bound legally. But nothing stopped their flying monkeys. Aunt Patricia, Elaine's sister. How could you do this to poor Karen? She's been crying for days. Cousin Rachel. Everyone's talking. You've embarrassed the whole HOA, even Mrs. Morrison down the street. Your board members are good people. Why hurt them? I changed my number, but the final offer came through Stanford on a gray January morning. Mark read it, eyebrows rising. They're offering to buy you out, $300,000 for you to walk away, sign NDA, never contact again. $300,000? More than I'd seen. Enough to start anywhere. House worth twice that, Mark noted. Substantial offer. I thought 30 seconds. No. Sure. Clean break. They want to erase what happened. By my silence, like always. Mark called Stanford. My client declines. No counter. Terms stand. He hung smiling. Stanford personally offended. Not used to know. 2 days later, Dylan texted new number. Can we talk? Just us. I met him at Neutral Coffee Shop. He looked terrible. They're losing it. Frank's drinking. Elaine redecorated twice. Karen convinced you'll release video, ruin her reputation. I'm not interested in ruining anyone. I just wanted to be believed. I know. I should have spoken years ago. Watched it happen every meeting. Why didn't you? Long pause. Coward. Easier not to be target. Benefited from being the good one while you were scapegoat. He looked up. I'm sorry, Lila. For all of it. First apology ever from the board side. They want me to convince you to take money. Threatened to cut me off. And you're here telling me not to? That house is your justice. Don't let them take it. We finished coffee in silence. He hugged me first time in years. You okay with them? Moving to Seattle. Job offer. Need distance too. Final attempt through Elaine's friend Linda. She called unrecognized number. Lila, honey, it's Linda. I've known you since diapers. I almost hung up. Wait. Not for them. Saw police report. I'm sorry. Should have seen. Why really calling? Pause. Elaine asked me to appeal to your conscience. Said you're vindictive over petty grievances. Another pause. I told her pushing a resident downstairs isn't petty. She hung up. Thank you. Your grandmother knew. Evelyn told me once she left house with conditions because they'd never let you have it otherwise. Smart woman. Yes. Good luck. And Lila, don't take their money. Don't let them buy out of accountability. That night at Jasmine's, I looked at real estate listings. With $300K, I could go anywhere, never drive past Karen's house. But then I thought of Grandma's garden, kitchen where she baked, reading Nook with stories, safety in those rooms, the only real home. They wanted me gone because my presence proved what they'd done. Every drive-by, every friend asking, every meeting with my absence noted, I was their consequence. Living in the house, they thought theirs. Thinking about money? Jasmine asked. Yeah, and they can keep all $300K. She smiled. Good. Now he'll make dinner. celebrating your spine. I laughed, really laughed, for first time since Christmas. They wanted forgiveness without consequences, reconciliation without admitting, peace without justice. They weren't getting it. The day I moved into Grandma Evelyn's house was unseasonably warm for February. Jasmine helped with boxes while Dylan, surprising everyone, showed with borrowed truck and girlfriend. Karen would kill me if she knew. Then why? Because someone should do right thing finally. House still smelled like her lavender, old books, safety. But carried ghosts. Karen's wine glasses and cabinet, Frank's golf trophies, Elaine's photo on wall. I took them down, packed label boxes. Dylan delivered. Could throw out, Jasmine suggested. Could. But I'm not them. Don't need cruelty to be free. Restraining order. No board within 500 feet. First week, I caught Elaine's Mercedes driving slowly past, testing. My new visible security cameras captured it. Mark sent warning. She didn't return. Karen's plea hearing in March. I submitted victim impact statement. Physical pain of broken wrist heals. Deeper fracture of trust, community, safety takes longer. Hope through service and counseling. Karen learns empathy never taught at board meetings. She got 100 hours service, anger management, criminal record forever. Her position ended a week later. Board voted her out after documents public. Engagement to some country club guy? Canceled. Apparently, he hadn't known her temper till court papers. I planted new roses in Grandma's garden that spring. Old ones neglected, but tended carefully, they bloomed stronger. I'd wake weekends, coffee in hand, work soil like she taught. Neighbors who'd known her stopped by with stories and seedlings. Evelyn would be so happy you're here. Mrs. Chin next door, she worried about you constantly. I know. She saved me. In end, house became sanctuary it was meant to be. I repainted warm colors, replaced formal furniture with comfortable, turned dining room, site of so many painful potlucks, into library. Every change erased bad memory, replaced with possibility. Jasmine came Wednesdays for dinner. Dylan visited when he could. Our relationship rebuilt outside toxic dynamic. He'd moved to Seattle, started therapy, healing. Regret not taking money, he asked one evening on porch swing. Never. Never about money. About truth. The last time I saw the board was by accident 6 months after moving in. At farmer's market, arms full of sunflowers. Spotted them near organic honey. Karen, Elaine, Frank. They looked older, smaller somehow. Karen saw me first, face cycling, surprise, anger, maybe regret. For a moment, 20 feet and lifetime apart. Then Frank took her arm, turned her away. They left without buying. Their Saturday ruined by ghost of resident they'd thrown away. I finished shopping, bought extra honey for baklava for Mrs. Chen's recipe. Sunflowers bright in arms. Headed for Grandma's crystal vase in my kitchen. My kitchen, my house, my life built on truth, not lies. That night, I made dinner for friends in kitchen where I'd once been unwelcome. We laughed loudly, told stories, filled rooms with warmth board never provided. As I served dessert on Grandma's good china, plates that witnessed so many cruel citations, I felt her presence like blessing. The truth needs only light to be seen, she'd said. The house is mine. The silence over. And in gardens she loved, new roses bloom. Proof sometimes best revenge is living well. Surrounded by people who see you clearly and love anyway. The cast came off months ago, but I kept it. Sometimes I look and remember, I'm not crazy. I never was. And now, finally, everyone knows it. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this HOA Karen drama resonated, please subscribe and share your thoughts. Your experiences mean everything. Until next time, stay strong and remember, your truth matters.